Thanks, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this group and be able to stay both days of this event. I'd say coming into this world of solar eclipse is amazing. And the energy, the scientific energy about this phenomenon, as well as the mystical aura that this event holds with it, are just something that really everybody should have a chance to participate in. And so I find that this is a perfect time to think about who is it that we want to invite to our events that we're planning, to our communities. And I think that you'll agree that we want to invite everyone under the sun, as Dan Schneiderman says. We want them to rent our hotel rooms. We want them to rent all of our Airbnbs and rental cars and eat at our restaurants daily and frequently and buy our merchandise. And I have a perfect proposition for you. People with disabilities have a $490 billion disposable income across the United States. As we've learned, there are millions of people that are going to be in the path of totality in its perimeter. I think Michael told us that everyone's within 250-mile drive of something in 2024. And just to give you an idea of some of the cities with regards to numbers of people with disabilities living in those areas or in those communities, that adds up. I'm not the numbers person, Michael, but I will certainly pick your brain for a data chart around people with disabilities along these pathways. And if half of the United States population is going to be able to potentially participate in this, I'll just take a stab at numbers. 490 divided by 2 is $245 billion. Even if you had access to part of $1 billion, wouldn't that be interesting? And I only mention numbers because a lot of you have referenced the importance of that particular bottom line as you're planning these events. But really, it's about the people. And about the people experiencing this amazing event. And disability is everywhere. There are people with disabilities in this room and online with us today. There are people in this room and online that have a family member with a disability. And then you may just know somebody that has a disability. Disability is part of who we are as a human. We're all different in our sameness. So some people have black hair, some people have freckles, some people wear glasses, some people use a wheelchair to ambulate around, some people use a speech board to communicate. Some people like it loud around them and don't. Disability is simply a part of who we are. And when you understand disability from that perspective, I think it becomes a little less intimidating, fearful, whatever that thing that stops us from already being inclusive. And if you think about how you can become better prepared, it's important to consider what perspective you're planning these events from, your own internal voice. So when you see this, where is the problem to be fixed? If this person didn't have a disability, there'd be no problem. There'd be no barrier to access. Or the ways that our communities have built and designed and provide services have created the barrier and the exclusion. So it's important to start first with where you're coming from and you're thinking, but I really like that way, the green check mark is, for thinking about planning this experience. Because you know why? I can't fix a diagnosis. I can't fix if someone gets a Parkinson's or MS or spinal cord injury or born with spinal but I can't do that, but I certainly could put a ramp in over there. Right? So I think that helps you think about, and I hope that helps you think about your planning for this particular event. Because really, your role, no matter what you are, educator, traffic controller, science person, you are just to intentionally prepare your event so people who function in a variety of ways can experience that fantastic thing that you're about to guide them through. That's it. It's simple. It's more simple than what I learned this morning about that solar wind that we're going to be experiencing. That doesn't really my mind. So I'm really happy to help you on something that I find simple. So you're going to have groups of people coming to your event. It's a bit like, I think you think about it like having people over for dinner. You're going to prepare for them. And one of them's going to be vegan, and one's not going to like tomatoes, and one's probably vegetarian, and then one wants the whole side of the fill in the blank meat product. And you're going to meet them all there. You're going to prepare your house for that group coming over. And they're going to feel that you expected them. That feeling of being expected is inclusion. It's that simple. And so inclusion intentionally preps the area for everyone's experience. And you're going to ask, but what if we don't know about them? You're not going to know every one of those 10,000 that are going to come into your spot, or the 80,000 that's going to fill that stadium. So how in the world are you supposed to prepare in advance? But I believe that we can. So you start with your master planning now, you have 10 months. You put that in the middle. You're going to be thinking about things like facility, parking, restrooms, activities, marketing. And then you're going to overlay that with 5 ways that all of us navigate the world. They're going to navigate your event on 5 simple, I'm going to keep using that word, 5 ways that we navigate, all of us, right? Real quick. Physical functional ability is how we move through space. Am I going to roll across the room? Am I going to walk across the room? Am I going to use an assistive device across the room? How am I going to lift and navigate the tools that you're going to ask me to use to look up into that eclipse? Sensory functional ability. We have a variety of ways that we all experience the world in the sensory way, how we hear, how we see, how we can touch and interpret what we're touching. Do we see it color the same way the next person beside us sees color? How do we process all of the sensory stimulation that we're going to have on the day of these eclipses? Communication functional ability. We all communicate, whether it's verbal, whether it's nonverbal. We also have this thing where we have to pick up cues from each other, and we have to send cues to each other. And we do that in a variety of ways, and sometimes the communication can break down unless we're expecting to meet someone at their way of communication. When we look at disability from a functional ability approach, and we think of intellectual functional ability, well, that's just how we learn and process. How many of you are visual learners? I completely am, even though those models today blew my mind. It was nice to see them blowing my mind, but I am a visual learner, and other people are visual learners, and some people are just not. Just give it to them in a written capacity. And how do we process? You gave me 5 things I was supposed to do when I go into the next room, and I don't remember anything but the first instruction you gave me. I mean, that's part of how our brains are working. And how about the ability to pay attention with whatever surroundings we might be engaged in? And the last one is social and emotional. We all have different ways that we cope with stress, experience joy and awe, and understand social norms and the ways that we're supposed to respond, right? And that's it. That's how everyone is going to experience your eclipse event. So how can you then prepare for people that are going to navigate in different ways? I don't know about you, but we've already learned a ton today and yesterday about all of the tools. Like Allison just told us one really, really cool one. That stuff is already there. I'm not necessarily here curating and creating those pieces, because you guys are doing that on the science level of things, which is fantastic. But you know that probably in our work of consultation, 80% of what we do has to do with that expectation, that feeling part, that creation of a culture of welcoming in a space. The other 20 is maybe the physical stuff, like diagrams and things like that. But that's important because that's on you to create a welcoming sense for people so that they know that when they come to your experience, that they're going to have this. I'm going to fly through a few tangible things because I want you to see just how easy this is. But there's also going to be some PDFs that you'll be able to download. Great, so you're out in the parking lot, you're going to create additional accessible parking spaces because you're going to expect more than the 2 spaces that your parking lot currently has. You're going to assign a parking attendant to help navigate that and keep control of that so that when you run out of the 4 that you had cleaned off, you can actually add 10 more because here comes people that you invited. You're going to provide parking information in your event promo prior to people arriving so they understand that you're expecting them there. Providing clear signage using multiple types of communication, some with words and pictures all together, right? Communication, you're going to have trained your staff and volunteers to use a variety of communication options. You're going to have people that know American Sign Language scattered throughout your event that already have phone apps downloaded onto their phones and maybe are equipped with pen and paper so that they can communicate right there on the spot. And you're also going to train your staff and volunteers in person first and identity first language because words are powerful and they can be exclusive, excluding of people, or they can be inclusive. I would highly recommend if you don't know that concept to make sure that you do prior to your event. Your routes of travel, you're going to ensure that they're firm and stable. You're going to rent Moby mats or grass mats for those access areas over terrain that's uneven. You're going to literally try to experience your event prior to the day through those different ways of navigating, those 5 functional abilities. Sensory, you're going to provide and advertise that you're going to have quiet areas and you're going to learn what that means and how to meaningfully give those out to people and let people know about them on the day of the event. We'll just throwing these at you. Hashtags. You know about camel case hashtags? It's really good because sometimes words get really jumbled when you have 6 of them out in a row with no up and down, capitalizing the first word of each of those. I highly recommend that you look that up. Go ahead and fill in the alt text on any images in any of your social media and flyers. Restrooms get 2. You're going to invite all these people to come and they're going to need to go. So go ahead and get your ADA porta-johns when you're making that order. If you're not too late, make sure they're ADA ones. And if you have an adult changing station, I don't know what that means. Let's make sure that you do. Those are crucial. And if you have any in your hometown anywhere, go ahead and plan your events around those spaces because that already takes care of one of the most necessary things for somebody that you want to stay there for 3 to 5 hours of this experience. Include a variety of methods for experiencing the eclipse. I won't go into those because we've been exposed to them and they will be given to you in some of the resources. Small details, offer microphones, no matter how small or large your group is. Provide a descriptive narrative of how you want to encourage people to experience what they're seeing and feeling and hearing. Have ASL interpreters without people having to ask you for them. And use closed captioning on your videos. And then advertise the heck out of all of this. Just like you call your friend and say, hey, yes, the lasagna is going to be meat-free. You want to tell people that you're doing all of this, that you're expecting them there. And how do you do that? You put it on your flyers, you put it on your websites. That could be one of the first things that you do. You go out into your communities and you find each of you, I would promise, has at least one person with a disability in your community. Many of you have thousands. And so where are they? And how do you find them? Use Google, it's a great tool. Have people with disabilities then join you on your task force. We're 10 months out, you have time. You can have time to anticipate needs because I just told you which needs. Okay. You've got it, it's been put in front of you. And then you're going to start implementing those solutions first. That's what a lens of inclusion does to your planning. It puts it as a priority and not as an oops factor. Because if you wait until you're really close and there's no more ADA porta-johns or there's no more sign language interpreters, you should book your sign language interpreters now. Then it feels like an oops. and people will let you know their disappointment. And I can tell you, disappointment around this thing, this phenomenon, is not a word that you ever want to put together, right? So find the every 1% in your community and then invite them 16 times, right? Because they're not sure that you really are expecting them today. So between now and the day, you have to pretty much build that trust and convince them that, yes, we do want you there. So I mentioned we have, on our website, we have resources that begin delineating all of these types of things, key planning principles, Eclipse activity resources. That's already a growing list. I've already added in Punch after this conference, and I'll be adding in some more to that. But make sure that you follow along with those and intentionally look and keep looking for more and more resources. So I was at a partial eclipse in 2017. My mom was in Blairsville, Georgia, in the corner of Georgia that had the totality, and she sent me her shirts. This is me and my son looking at the bright, bright sky. But the phenomenon is amazing. And I can tell you that every single family wants to experience that joy and that awe. And it's on us. So whatever you're doing, make sure that you start, I'll give you until tomorrow. Start tomorrow with making every eclipse that's coming up between now and 2095 a totally inclusive eclipse. And we're here to help. Thank you.